viewers, in my last lecture, I had discussed with you reducing sugars. And you know, reducing sugars and non-reducing sugars are one of the most important topics in which the questions are asked in carbohydrate chemistry. And I have explained in great details as to how will you identify a reducing sugar. Supposing we are asked a question, then they can ask you to write a short note on reducing and non-reducing sugars. And if you are preparing for NEET or some entrance exam where the objective type of questions are asked, then they will give you say 4 options and they will ask you which of the following is a reducing sugar or which of the following is a non-reducing sugar. After my previous interaction, I am sure you will be able to identify which is a reducing sugar. You have to remember that is when we are talking of reducing sugars, basically we are talking of monosaccharides. Monosaccharides for the concept of reducing and non-reducing sugars, mainly the questions are asked from monosaccharides and disaccharides, like which of the following are reducing or non-reducing sugars. So when you talk of a monosaccharide, what you have to remember that if you are given an open chain form, it is very simple. What you have to remember that if a molecule is an aldose or a ketose, it will act as a reducing agent. That is, aldoses will act as reducing agent because of the aldehyde group which is present in them, and ketoses will act as a reducing agent because alpha ketoses have a tendency to undergo enediol rearrangement in basic medium and they will isomerize into aldoses, and then that in aldoses the aldehyde group will act as a reducing agent. Now supposing that you are given a cyclic structure. So what you have to, you don't have to get nervous if you get a cyclic structure. You just have to look at the cyclic structure and you have to identify whether that molecule has a hemiacetal or a hemiketal unit. If it has a hemiacetal or a hemiketal unit, that molecule will act as a reducing agent. Now coming to disaccharides, we've observed that maltose and lactose are reducing sugars. Because why are they reducing sugars? Because in the disaccharide unit, one of the unit is existing as a hemiacetal. And since it is existing as a hemiacetal, that means that molecule will act as a reducing sugar. That is, it will give us a positive Felling's test, Benedict's test and Tollens test. Now the question comes like, what are the non-reducing sugars? So what you have to remember is that non-reducing sugars are the ones which will not reduce mild oxidizing agents like Felling's solution, Tollens reagent or Benedict's reagent. So what are we now going to look for in a molecule to identify whether it is a non-reducing, if it is a non-reducing sugar? So what you have to remember is that saccharides that do not have a hemiacetal group in them or which do not have a hemiacetal unit, they are non-reducing. Reason being, like if I talk of a disaccharide, you know that a glycosidic bond is formed. That is, they will exist as, at one point they will exist as acetals and at the or ketals, and the point where they are existing as acetals or ketals, they are locked in that place. That is, they are stable and they cannot be converted to an aldehyde, the open chain form of an aldose or a ketose in aqueous acid, in aqueous base. They are stable in basic medium. But supposing we bring about the hydrolysis with an aqueous acid, they will undergo hydrolysis and we will get the 2 units from which this disaccharide was made. So now what you have, as you can see on your screens, that if a molecule, a disaccharide, is existing as an acetal, That is, the carbon, the anomeric carbon, is attached to two ether groups like OR and OR. Then that means that this molecule is existing either as an acetal or a ketal, and now this is stable in basic medium. Since it is stable in basic medium, it will not undergo ring opening, and if it will not undergo ring opening, that means it will not be in equilibrium with the aldehydic or the ketonic form. That is, the molecule is locked, and therefore it will not give you a positive Felling's test. So the one example in this case is that of a sucrose. Now we know sucrose is a disaccharide of alpha D glucose and beta D fructose. So what we find in case of in case of sucrose, that the anomeric carbon of glucose, which is the C1 carbon, and the anomeric carbon of fructose, which is the C2 carbon. That is, this is your C1 carbon, and this is now existing in the acetal form. How is it existing in the acetal form? Since it is attached to two ether linkages. Similarly, what we find that the C2 carbon of the fructose is also existing in the acetal form. That is, we have two ether linkages here, one ether linkage here, one ether linkage here. That means now this molecule is locked, and since this molecule is locked, it will not exist in equilibrium with the aldehyde group under basic conditions. And we know that whether we talk of Benedict's reagent, we talk of Felling's solution, we talk of Tollen's reagent, there the reaction is taking place in basic medium. So this molecule will not open up and it will give us a negative test. So that means sucrose or any other disaccharide which has an acetal group, it will not exist as a linear form, and thus it will not act as a reducing sugar. And what you have to remember is that non-reducing disaccharides are also called as glycosides. Now that means now we come to a conclusion that supposing monosaccharides and disaccharides we are comparing. So monosaccharides and disaccharides that lack a hemiacetal are non-reducing. You will say, just now I said that all monosaccharides are reducing. So supposing a monosaccharide reacts with alcohol and it exists as a glycoside, so that means it will then become non-reducing. And then you have to remember that polysaccharides which have a low ratio of hemiacetal to acetal linkage are also non-reducing. So here you can see on your screens that this was originally a glucose molecule. If we had H here instead of methyl group, so then it would be existing as a hemiacetal and it would give us a positive test. That is, it will act as a reducing agent. But now it is existing as a alpha D glucose methyl glucoside. So that means now, in spite of being a monosaccharide, it is existing as an acetal. That is, it is existing as a glycoside. So that means it does not have a hemiacetal group. It is attached to two ether groups, a ether here and a ether here. So it is existing as an acetal. It will give you a negative test. It will not act as a reducing sugar. Similarly, in case of fructose, what we find, that is ethyl alpha D fructofuranoside, will also be a non-reducing sugar, because in this again it is existing as a glycoside. It has two ether linkages, O and O. This anomeric carbon is attached to two ether groups, so it will exist as a non-reducing sugar. Please do not get confused. You are not going to see that this H and this OH or this H and OH, any other carbon. What you have to see is that the anomeric carbon is existing as a hemiacetal or a ketal. If it is existing as a hemiacetal, it will give us a positive test. It will act as a reducing agent. But if it is existing as an acetal, it will not give. It will not act as a reducing agent. So here what we have is another example of a non-reducing sugar, and it is again a glycoside, and this glycoside will not it is existing as an acetal, as you can see, O, another ether group here. It will give us a negative test with Tollens reagent, that is, you will not get a silver mirror. Now, when we talk of sucrose again, once more, again what we find that when we are talking of sucrose, again the anomeric carbon is involved in acetal linkage, and therefore it will not give you a positive test with Tollens or Fehling's. So it is a disaccharide which does not have a hemiacetal unit, so it is a non-reducing sugar. So now here I have shown you a test that if we carry out the test for maltose and for sucrose, say a Benedict test, then what we find that there is no color change when the reagent is added to glucose. So that means, to sucrose, that means sucrose is a non-reducing sugar, and when it is added to maltose, you get a brown precipitate. That means maltose is a reducing sugar. So now if I want to summarize, or how would you distinguish between a reducing and a non-reducing disaccharide? So what you have to remember is maltose, cellobiose, lactose are some examples of reducing sugars. Why are they reducing? Because now what you can see here is that we have a hemiacetal carbon, or we have a hemiacetal unit here, and this hemiacetal unit will open up and it will give a positive Tollens, Benedict's or Fehling's test. Whereas when we talk of sucrose, then sucrose is a non-reducing sugar because we do not have a hemiacetal unit in it. Similarly, a trehalose is also a non-reducing sugar because it will also not have a hemiacetal unit in it. So what you have to remember now, that if a molecule has a hemiacetal, it will act as a reducing sugar. If it has a acetal linkage, it will act as a non-reducing sugar. Now if we go on to polysaccharides like starch, cellulose, or say glycogen for another example, then what you know that these have reducing ends. Amylopectin is a highly branched structure in which you have 1,4 linkages between the glucose, alpha D glucose molecules, and 1,6 linkages. So it is a highly branched structure which is one of the units of starch and glycogen. But what we find here that the reducing units or reducing ends are very less when compared to the non-reducing ends. Like this is a non-reducing end, this is again a non-reducing end. So this molecule, in spite of having reducing ends, will be a non-reducing carbohydrate. So now if a question is asked, like whether starch or glycogen, are they reducing or non-reducing? A question will be given to you. It can be framed like this, that starch has few reducing ends. Is it a reducing sugar or a non-reducing carbohydrate? So you have to remember that it is a non-reducing carbohydrate. Similarly, glycogen is also a non-reducing carbohydrate. Now let us quickly summarize the differences between reducing and non-reducing sugars and find out how quickly can we find out whether a given molecule is a reducing sugar or a non-reducing sugar. So what you have to remember is that reducing sugars are carbohydrates, if we are talking of in the open chain form, which have a free aldehydic or a ketonic group. In a non-reducing sugar, no such free groups are found, rather they are available in form of bonds. Then you have to remember that the non-reducing sugar form will exist as a acetal or a ketal, whereas a reducing form will exist as a hemiketal or a hemiacetal. Then you have to remember that reducing sugars will possess mutarotation. Why will they show the phenomenon of mutarotation? Because when you will dissolve them in water, they will undergo ring opening. And when they undergo ring opening, there will be an equilibrium between the alpha form, the open chain structure, and the beta form. So what will happen? There will be spontaneous change in optical rotation, that is the specific rotation, till a constant value is reached. That is till an equilibrium is established between the alpha form and the beta form through the open chain structure. So we say, since the reducing sugars exist as in hemiacetal form, they will show the phenomena of mutarotation, because they can undergo ring opening, because they are having a hemiacetal structure. Whereas when we talk of a non-reducing sugar, they will not show the phenomena of mutarotation, because they are existing as in hemiacetal form, and hemiacetal form is very stable. It will not undergo ring opening. The molecule will be locked at that position. Then the second thing that you have to remember is that reducing sugars will form Oza zones. That is when we will treat glucose, fructose with the excess of phenylhydrazine, they will, or maltose, of mannose, they will, or galactose, they will give us the Oza zone derivatives. And when we talk of glucose, mannose or fructose, they will give us the same Oza zone derivatives. And then what you have to remember next, that reducing sugars are mainly monosaccharides, whereas all polysaccharides are non-reducing sugars. Then you have to remember that reducing sugars can reduce the cupric ions of the Fellings or the Benedict solution into cuprous ions, whereas when we talk of a non-reducing sugar, it will not be able to reduce the cupric ions to the cuprous ions. And the last thing that you have to remember, that the most common examples of reducing sugars are maltose, lactose, gentubiose, celobiose, mellibiose, while we are talking of disaccharides here, while the disaccharides sucrose and trehalose are non-reducing sugars. So now you can easily distinguish between a reducing and a non-reducing sugar. That is, a reducing sugar will have a hemiacetal unit, and a non-reducing sugar will have a acetal unit, or it will not have a free hemiacetal group. Now I have already introduced you to disaccharides. That is, how have I introduced you to disaccharides? Like if I talk of maltose, or if I talk of glucose, or if I talk of lactose, then these are the simple sugars which are made up of 2 units. So now the question arises, what are disaccharides? So I have covered an important aspect in my previous lecture, and in this lecture, that is of reducing and non-reducing sugars. Now I shall be introducing you to what are disaccharides. We know now that lactose is a reducing sugar, maltose is a reducing sugar, which is a disaccharide, sucrose is a non-reducing sugar. But what are these disaccharides? How are they formed? So we know that disaccharides are formed by a condensation reaction in which 2 monosaccharide units react to form a disaccharide. Or in other words, I can say that when we carry out the hydrolysis of a disaccharide, we will get 2 monosaccharide units. So we can say now that disaccharides are carbohydrates which have the molecular formula C12H22O11, and these sugars are composed of 2 monosaccharide units which are joined by a carbon-oxygen-carbon linkage. That is, the carbon-oxygen-carbon linkage is known as glycosidic linkage. And now this linkage is formed by the reaction of the anomeric carbon on one cyclic monosaccharide with the hydroxyl group of the second monosaccharide. Why does this happen? Because the anomeric carbon is the most reactive carbon. So the OH group attached to it is most reactive. So what happens when the anomeric OH reacts with one monosaccharide unit, reacts with another OH of the other monosaccharide unit, then we get a disaccharide. So which hydroxyl group is going to take part in a glycosidic bond? You have to remember of the first unit, the OH group that is attached to an anomeric carbon will take part in bond formation, because that is the OH which is most reactive. And now this OH hydroxyl group will react with another hydroxyl group on another monosaccharide unit, resulting in a glycosidic form bond or a disaccharide. So what you can see on your screens now, I have shown you a diagram that is, this is one monosaccharide, this can be glucose, galactose, or it can be fructose. So these will react among themselves. This has to be the anomeric OH, that is OH which is attached to an anomeric carbon. This will react with any of the OH of the second molecule of monosaccharide. A condensation reaction will take place, that is a water molecule will be eliminated here, and a new bond will be formed between these two units through oxygen. And this bond, that is carbon oxygen carbon bond, is known as the glycosidic linkage. Now this reaction can be reversible, that is if we carry out the acidic hydrolysis. What you have to remember, we've got a acetal here, or we've got a glycosidic bond here, and these are stable in basic medium. So what you have to bring about, you have to bring about acid hydrolysis here. So when you bring about acid hydrolysis here, this bond will cleave and we will get these two monomer units, that is the monosaccharides from which this disaccharide was made. So what is a disaccharide? So you have to remember, a disaccharide is a simple sugar which is made up of two monosaccharides which are joined by a glycosidic linkage. So what you can see on your screens here, that is a sugar molecule, say glucose, is reacting say with methanol, and a glycosidic bond is being formed here. I have discussed the mechanism of this reaction in great details in one of my previous lectures. Now say instead of taking a simple alcohol here, we take another molecule of a monosaccharide. Now this will act as a alcohol molecule. So this anomeric OH will react with any of the OH of the second molecule, resulting in a glycosidic linkage here, and what we'll get here is a disaccharide. So that means now when we are thinking of preparing a disaccharide, or when we think of a disaccharide, so we can say that disaccharide is made up of two molecules of sugars, simple sugars. Now these two molecules of simple sugars may be same or they may be different, right? And the anomeric carbon of the first unit, that is the OH, that is the anomeric carbon, may react with any of the hydroxyl groups of the second monosaccharide unit, resulting in a glycosidic bond. So now before I start with the discussion on disaccharides, I would like to discuss with you the types of glycosidic linkages which occur in disaccharides. We mainly have three types of linkages. First is the 1,4 linkage, as you can see on your screens. Now it is given by 1-4- here. Now what does this indicate? That the first carbon of the first unit is involved in bond formation, in the glycosidic bond formation, and this 4- indicates that the bond is being formed between the first carbon of the first unit, that is the anomeric carbon here, and the fourth carbon of the second unit. So if you look into this, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is 1,4 linkage. And in this case, you can see that this is an example of maltose. And in maltose, what we find that the two units of alpha D glucose are linked by a bond between anomeric carbon, that is C1 of the first unit, and the OH group on the fourth carbon of the second glucose unit, resulting in an alpha glycosidic bond. Now the second linkage that we have, we can have 1,6 linkage. In this case, you always have to remember, whether we talk of any of the linkages, the 3 linkages that I am discussing, the first, the bond from where the glycosidic bond will start will be the first carbon in case of aldoses, and second carbon if we are talking of a molecule, that is we are talking of a linkage between aldose and a ketose molecule. So here what we have is a linkage between 1,6. So when I talk of a linkage between 1,6, what we find that the first carbon of the first unit, that is the anomeric carbon of the first unit, is forming a bond with the sixth carbon of the second unit. Right. So what you find, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the sixth carbon. So the bond is being formed here, and the example here is that of gentobiose, and the 2 glucose units are joined by C1 to C6, and this is a beta linkage. Why isn't this an alpha linkage or a beta linkage? I'll be explaining to you in great details in my next lecture. Then the last linkage that we can think of is the 1,2 linkage, which we have in sucrose. So in this case, the anomeric carbon of both the units, that is the anomeric carbon of the glucose, which is the C1, and the C2 of fructose, which is again the anomeric carbon, these two are involved in bond formation. That is, we talk of a 1,2 linkage. And here what we are again getting is a acetyl linkage, that is we are getting a glycosidic linkage. And at this place the bond is locked. So in this lecture I have introduced you to basic concept of what is a disaccharide, and we've discussed in great detail the non-reducing sugars, and then I compared what is the what are the differences between a reducing and a non-reducing sugar. Now in my next lecture we'll pick up the thread from here, or rather I will just introduce you again shortly to what is a disaccharide, and we will go on to discuss disaccharides in detail, that is maltose, lactose and cellobiose, sucrose, and then we will also touch on say polysaccharides. And again for this lecture I had referred, you can refer to the books by Carey Francis, McMurray-Jones, Wade, Claydon and Solomon. Thank you.